Okay. Okay, so this video is going to be kind of a simple way to gauge where you're holding your weight for seated posture, and then also how to reinforce that some isometric holds or just kind of repetitive weight shifts to get things loosened up and to keep things kind of stimulated or recalibrated for yourself. So it can be pretty simple once you get the hang of this, but you want to imagine, even though you can't see my feet here in frame, imagine like on each heel, you want to try to gauge how hard can you push into that heel, like how much pressure by feel can you get into one heel versus the other heel, and that should give you a good idea of which leg is stronger, which leg tends to hold more of your weight. The stronger one will be easier to press into and be able to generate a lot of force, whereas the other one you might feel like it's hard to get the weight into the heel, or maybe it's like even impossible because your body might be locked up, stuck and stiff and blocking you from doing that. So you want to get a sense like how hard can I push here, like I'm trying to sink a shovel in the ground with my weight on top of it, how hard can I push down in through that heel? And so ideally, of course, you want it to be somewhat equal. So you do one at a time and kind of gauge, and then we have like a weaker side over here, say, how do I get to the point where that feels somewhat equivalent? But you want to have a gauge, like if my strong side is 100%, have a rough idea of like what percent is this one. And then over time, you want to get it to be closer and closer to more like they're equal, okay? And when you're just sitting or standing for that matter, you have a sense that your weight is equal between the two. So you might have to shift a little bit to balance. And that's gonna help guide you as well as to where you wanna go or where you need to go to get your body, your pelvis, your body, everything kind of aligned better and not skewed, over here. So if this was my side that's weak, I would imagine like to get to where I feel like that's close to how this side is, I have to drive my chest up and forward over that side, and if I let that go, my body's going to slide back and down over to this side, and that can contribute to some other problems too, where maybe like this SI joint over here, because it's chronically overloaded, is going to get stiff and maybe even arthritic and problematic over there. So it can create problems on both sides because neither one is, you're not centered here, okay? And when you do load, you might be completely off on either side, like too much in one direction over here, not enough in that one. So just got to keep that in mind. But again, it's like my center has to go up and forward to get where I can push back into my hip and down in my heel and really feel that. And that's that tension of like the tension rod back through my hip and up and back and down through my hip and heel and up and forward through my chest, and if I was reaching through my hand as well. So that's just that support system on each side. And center is just balance right in there. So it's like 50-50 pressure in the heels. And that's what we can use to stand up with, like a sit to stand, or when you're squatting, make sure you're keeping that pressure equal in those two heels. Now, I can do repetition, do reps to kind of loosen things up and to better coordinate those muscles, to connect with them better, or I can do an isometric. So if you have a sturdy desk or in the car, can be a good place if you're able to do this. Okay, so say I have my steering column here, like the steering wheel, those are pretty stable, so I can push into that, right? If I'm driving, I can actually push up and forward, use those abdominal muscles to drive my chest and kick that back in my hips and my heels. And then I can go side to side, connect from the pressure on that side down to that button heel, and then that side back and forth, or just both in the middle, trying to keep it 50-50. So you can play around with that, or if not, the steering column and desk. Make sure it's a sturdy desk that won't slide or tip over. Same thing, go side to side or up in the middle, and just imagine like I'm gonna stand up, but just press into that right side, left side.